Okay, so let's continue reading. Acts 27, verse 14. But not long after there arose against it a tempestuous wind called Euroclydon. And when the ship was caught and could not bear up into the wind, we let her drive, and running under a certain island which is called Clauda, we had much work to come by the boat, which when they had taken up, they used helps, undergirding the ship, and fearing lest they should fall into the quicksands, strake sail, and so were driven. And we were being exceedingly tossed with a tempest the next day. They lightened the ship. And the third day we cast out with our own hands the tackling of the ship. And when neither sun nor stars in many days appeared, and no small tempest, this is all prophetic. This is not just talking about the past. When neither sun nor stars in many days appeared, and no small tempest lay on us, all hope that we should be saved was then taken away. But after a long abstinence, Paul stood forth in the midst of them and said, Sirs, ye should have hearkened unto me, and not have loosed from Crete, and to have gained this harm and loss. And now I exhort you to be of good cheer, for there shall be no loss of any man's life among you, but of the ship. For there stood by me this night the angel of God, and we know who that is, whose I am, and whom I serve, saying, Fear not, Paul, thou must be brought before Caesar, and lo, God hath given thee all them that sail with thee. Wherefore, sirs, be of good cheer, for I believe God, that it shall be even as it was told me. Howbeit we must be cast upon a certain island. But when the 14th night, why are we being told these details? The 14th night was come, as we were driven up and down in Adria. About midnight the shipmen deemed that they drew near the same country. Now, by the way, when did the flood come? On the 17th of the second month. The second month is the second Passover.
That's right.
Just sort of mention that. And sounded and found it 20 fathoms, and when they had gone a little further, they sounded again and found it 15 fathoms. There's the 15 something or others above the land. Okay, so we've got similar sort of things being told us. Then fearing lest we should have fallen upon the rocks, they cast 4 anchors. Why 4? What's that related to? If the ark is the heavenly encampment, if the boat is the heavenly encampment, 4 is related to the 4 cherubim, the 4 winds of the temple. Then fearing lest we should have fallen upon rocks, they cast 4 anchors out on the stern and wished for the day. And as the shipmen were about to flee out of the ship, when they had let down the boat into the sea, under colour as though they would have cast anchors out of the foreship, Paul said to the centurion and to the soldiers, Except these abide in the ship, ye cannot be saved. A lovely terminology. Then the soldiers cut off the ropes of the boat and let her fall off. And while the day was come on, Paul besought them all to take meat, saying, This day is the 14th day that ye have tarried, and continued fasting, having taken nothing. While the bridegroom is away, his disciples will fast. And Yeshua spoke about that. Wherefore I pray you that take some meat, for this is for your health, and for there shall not an hair fall from the head of any of you. And when he had thus spoken, he took bread and gave thanks to God in the presence of them all. And when he had broken it, he began to eat. Come on, computer. Then they were all of good cheer, and they also took some meat, and we were in all the ship 216 souls. And what's that all about? 216, that's 276 souls. What's 276? It just happens to be the triangle of 23. Triangle of 23 is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus... Remember we came to 153 for the triangle of 17, which is all about Joseph and the 153 fish. Well, now we have 276 souls. Why are we told that number? The triangle of 23 equals 200. So if you count 1 plus 2 plus 3 all the way up to 23, you get 276. 23 is about death and about life coming from death. There's 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, and if we go through, and 23 is like going through another rotation. It's another turn of the wheel. You know, Joshua and Gilgal representing another turn of the wheel, among other things. And when they had eaten enough, they lightened the ship and cast out the wheat into the sea. That's interesting. And wheat is regarded, Pentecost is all about wheat, and it's all about souls. And when it was day, they knew not land, but they discovered a certain creek with a shore into which they were minded, if it were possible to thrust in the ship. And when they had taken up the anchors and committed themselves into the sea and loosed the rudder bands and hoisted them up the mainsail to the wind and made toward shore, and falling into a place where two seas met, they ran the ship aground and the forepart stuck fast. See, even in the English, this thing is just telling me prophecy, prophecy, prophecy. And remained unmovable, but the hinder part was broken with the violence of the waves. And the soldiers' counsel was to kill the prisoners, etc., etc. And I'm going to cut to the chase. The account of Paul's shipwreck experience in Acts 27 is extremely prophetic and symbolic, and meshes with other accounts of God's people kept safe in a boat. This time the boat is wrecked, but all 176 souls are saved. And 23 is related to life and death and being saved from death. The 15 fathoms depth reminds us of the 15 songs of ascent in the ark floating 15 cubits above the tops of the mountains. Now, the description of the storm-tossed sea reminds us of the other accounts of similar events like Noah, Jonah, Psalm 107, and these are all related to the prophetic future. Now, Paul was also shipwrecked a number of times. Thrice was I beaten with rods. Once was I stoned. Thrice, that's 3 times, I suffered shipwreck. A night and a day I have been in the deep. So God's people suffer in the deep. So if you want to be a super apostle, you want to pay a super price. Holding faith and a good conscience, which some, having put away concerning faith, have made shipwreck. We don't want to be about the bride. We don't want to be like Rebecca and fall off a camel. We want to, if we do, we want to get back on that camel. We don't want to be part of the last days apostasy before when the man of sin is revealed and the falling away occurs. Now I want to read to you Psalm 107, which begins to link all this stuff together prophetically. He sent his word and healed them and delivered them from their destructions. Oh, that men would praise the Lord for his goodness and for his wonderful works to the children of men. And let them sacrifice the sacrifice of thanksgiving and declare his works with rejoicing. They that go down to the sea in ships, that do business in great waters, these see the works of the Lord and his wonders in the deep. For he commandeth and raiseth the stormy wind, which lifteth up the waves thereof. They mount up to the heavens. They go down again to the depths. Their soul is melted because of trouble. Again they are minished and brought low through oppression, affliction and sorrow. And why have I jumped from Psalm verse 26 down to 39? All of these verses have an inverted nun. That letter there is not the letter nun. It's a nun turned the other way. And there's 6 of them in a row, and then there's a gap of 13 verses, and then there's another nun. Now, what is God trying to tell us? He's trying to tell us that the number 7 is related to the number of days of creation. 7 is related to God's calendar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's actually a mistake. That verse shouldn't be there. 26. There's not a nun there. I've done some faulty editing and haven't fixed it. Okay. We have briefly seen accounts of Noah, Jonah, disciples of Galilee, Paul, and the shipwreck, Psalm 107. All these journeys involve harrowing storms at sea, all necessary parts of discipleship and training. Perhaps we can begin to see that the storms that hit our lives as believers are part of our training, although unpleasant at times. if we keep our eyes on Yeshua, we will make it through and indeed see the works of the Lord and His wonders in the deep. And certainly some disciples and some people have suffered more than others. And to the degree that you go down in life is the degree that you bounce back up. You know, the firstborn Joseph, he was tested by going first down into the depths, into the pit. And that's the same word. That same word is used. We'll talk about the deep shortly. So if you want to rise high, you have to go down low.